Oh,
Oh my God, God.
I'm surprised. I don't believe it. How is that even possible?
It's working.
No one believes this, Florian.
No. I'm impressed. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Warm welcome for Vienna.
Is this working? Is this real? Is this real?
It is. It is. You won't believe it. No one would have guessed.
Hello, how are you doing?
Guten Morgen, guten Morgen.
Do you understand me?
I don't understand anything anymore. I'm
Okay.
out.
Same
I
here.
think it's the gods. I think it's the gods that let us in.
Jesus,
Yeah.
thank God. Can we test the transcription tool? Is it automated here?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I will just step.
We need the transcription. The one that is hosting the event should transcribe because the deliverable actually depends on the transcription.
Just launch the event because it is him or her, the one who have to start the recording.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
not-
they're going to do that. But
The recording, hello guys, my name is Alexander. I'm a colleague of Christoph.
Hello.
The
Hi.
recording is already ongoing, so it's automatically started when the very first one joins the call. So
Great.
we're
you're
now
the
being
magician that makes things work. The last time you were not there, and look what happened.
I'm the very magician, the very good magician. That
Thank you
just,
for being here. You say your name, sorry, your name, I didn't catch your name.
Alexander Nikolov. I'm a colleague of Christoph.
Nice to see you, nice to meet
I'll
you.
send you a LinkedIn request. I need to connect with you. Thank you.
No problem. Feel free to do it.
Please.
And what about the
guys-
transcription? It's video, but the transcription, is it here, Alexander? Because we asked Christoph about it. He said that you have it in WebEx.
The transcription will be done afterwards. We're based on the video.
Aha, so you have a tool that actually
Automatically.
takes the, okay, so you will do it. So we will get it. Okay, good.
That's correct. I can see that Christoph also.
Hello,
Join us.
everybody.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God. Happy to hear you, Christoph.
How are you?
Thank you very
Christoph?
much.
Hi, Christoph. Things are
Thank
looking
you.
bright.
Thank you very much. Hope you're all doing fine.
Guys, can I just briefly interrupt because we haven't yet tested that anybody shares her or his screen to all of us? Can I invite somebody to do this, please?
Yeah, good idea.
Good point.
Also try to run a presentation because we had some issues, like some speakers had issues when sharing the screen with the presentation. It was like not running in the presenting mode. It was just frozen on one screen. So
Yep, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
does anyone have, Sharon, will you maybe share your screen because you are presenting? Thank you very much for jumping in again.
I'm also presenting. I'm just preparing the presentation. Of course, my pleasure, but I just need to work a little bit on the presentation. If I may just go on silent,
okay.
but I can share now.
Do it, or you do it.
I'm sharing the screen if you want now.
Yeah.
So we can just test.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
just test this, play slides or whatever.
I put on full screen.
Yeah.
Good that you do the donut, then I don't need to do it, Sharam.
No, I can just delete that slide. I was just gonna do an overview of the framework.
Go for it.
Yeah, great.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'll stop sharing and just go back to just tidy up a little bit this.
Okay, then now I'm trying to do it. Gesamter Bildschirm. And okay, I can move it. So, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Thank you very
Cool.
much. Looks great.
Very
Oh, yeah.
nice.
And try to move to the next slide, maybe. Okay, great. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Nice. Then let's see how I can get out of it. Freigabe beenden.
Push the little red button.
I did. I'm happy it worked.
We all
Because
are.
actually, yeah, I downloaded the desktop version, which worked in the update call at 11, but now when I do screen sharing, it doesn't work anymore. So now I'm here with the web browser.
Always complaining, Daniel. We're all happy
Yeah.
that we're all here, that we managed to.
Then we got something in common, Oliver. Florian, sorry. Oliver is not here anymore.
Well, one casualty could have been worse, but hopefully we can recover Oliver.
He's not a casualty. He's not dead yet.
No, I
That's what
mean,
you know, that is
yeah,
described.
not literally, not literally.
Is there any chance that Oliver is joining, or I'm just wondering.
No, I tried to call him and he said,
Okay.
yeah. But I don't think, I mean, indeed, it's really pretty much the same what Sharam is going to do. I saw both slides and he said we are happy to, we are welcome to use the slides as well. So Sharam, if you need to, you can also
Okay.
Yeah, it's
take
just
this.
that I'm more comfortable with some things I already prepared, because now if I jump to his slides, I need a bit more time, you know? So
Yeah, maybe you can stick to what you prepared, Sharam, actually.
the usual, you know, just 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't know how long. 10 minutes is okay? Is that too long? 7 minutes?
What do you
I
mean?
think
The
so.
slot is 15. The slot is 15. By the way, do you have? Are you planning to try a discuss? I mean, what the roles do the visitors have in WebEx, guys?
Well, I think we are. Oh,
Yeah, because in our
but
case,
we
they
do have
have.
a round table, Katerina. I think you're referring to a round table discussion, right? Afterwards.
No, I'm just trying, Sharam, I'm trying to make sure it's not. That's why I'm asking. You know, don't worry. I'm not trying to get any discussion. I'm just asking, do they have the role just to type in the chat? That's it. So they don't jump
Ah.
in.
Or maybe we can have like allow them to speak if they put their hand up or something like that, put the camera up, because
Maybe
that would be.
maybe Alexander can give the answer to this. Alexander,
Yeah. Please, guys, tell us how it functions.
They can raise their hand if they would like to ask a question, or ask a question in the chat option. It's important that the one who is moderating the webinar or the workshop is just keeping from time to time an eye on the chat option in case someone asks a question there. In case someone raises a hand, maybe to interrupt the presenting person, or.
Okay, and will Christoph be here?
moderate.
Because is Christoph there?
I am here, yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely, yeah.
couldn't see you. Okay.
No worries.
Who will? So will you take over the facilitation, Christoph, or?
Yeah, so we'll just walk through the agenda, and as said, then with the open part later on. Yeah, this that's quite open. So let's see how long this will take. But yeah, I will get you through. Just jump in if you have any specific questions or something.
Are any participants now in the waiting room, or we are still alone?
Anyone who wants to join can join. There is no waiting room, so we don't have to like accept a person that is waiting there. So anyone who dials in can join immediately.
Okay.
So just to recap, Christoph, you are the moderator, and you will be the one that will give speech to the speakers, right? And take from them, right, when they finish the slot, and kind of move to the next. So you will need to look at the time slots, right? So you are the one. And then,
exactly. I'm checking on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with the communication for the speakers, you have Florian, right? Who will you know, kind of, if there is a major move in a slot, that they will, or it's agreed that they will stay during the whole workshop. I mean, the speakers, because in our case, like they were asking to give them exact spot, and kind of if it was a big move or you know, a delay, or we had the schedule, you know, we were texting them and, you know, encouraging them to step in, or, you know, wait a little bit. So you have a person doing that as well from your side, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I will have a look on that for the agenda, that everything is according to what we have agreed on. Yeah.
Sharam, do you want to say something?
So I just wanted to say, what do you think about if I put a couple of 2-minute videos in between that explain, for example, if I can present the videos as a, because they're kind of visual and that can also be like part of the presentation?
It's okay if it is just fitting into the slots. Actually, it's not a problem. Yeah.
Okay, because I have a short video created with
Okay.
AI with the Swahili.
We should start very soon. So actually, okay, I think it's okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody. I think we'll just proceed. Let's see who else will be joining in. Thank you very much for joining in today. Just letting you know that this event is being recorded. so it can be shown to everybody else after our workshop today. I hope that that's fine for everyone here. Otherwise, please just let us know. Yeah, so namely our virtual event will be recorded and posted on the Futurism platform in order to ensure, according to the rules of the open access scientific information, that all collected insights are openly accessible for the interested parties and can be supported further development activities on the field. Yeah, very happy to invite all of you here yeah, on the workshop for envisioning this future of tourism for Austria. Yeah, my name is Christoph Steiner. I'm a researcher and project coordinator for SUNIA, the Austrian partner in a futurism project, in which context we are conducting this workshop. And I want to warmly welcome everybody, especially all the speakers, but also, of course, all the participants who will elaborate on our topic. Yeah, please, as I see in our agenda, Florian will move ahead, so I will gladly hand over to his presentation.
Thank you, Christoph. I'm just activating the screen share. Can somebody please confirm that my screen is visible?
Yes.
It's visible.
And I hope it's also the right screen, so you see basically the presentation version reading Florian Kwiatkowski, Austrian Tourism in Context, without my speaking notes.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Marvelous. Thank you very much. Welcome also from my side. Christoph, thank you for the nice handover. I'm particularly thrilled to presenting some of the role models where Austria already took the lead in the past, guiding us into the future with regards to digitalization and also sustainability. I ask everybody who has some questions to please put them in the chat, because otherwise this is going to turn out as a mess. And yes, we will also have some more interaction afterwards. It will be in the panel that Christoph will then moderate for us again. First, some brief image of how we all know Austrian tourism. This is basically an image from Vorarlberg. So this is what we know from tourism in Austria. And I was asked to present in a nutshell some aspects regarding winter tourism, some aspects regarding summer tourism. We kick off with the Austrian discipline, which is winter. I put the Austrian map on top of the slide so that everybody can locate where the region is, where this testimonial actually comes from. Here we are in Vorarlberg, so we're in the westernmost province of Austria. What is thrilling to see in this aspect from Gorm is that meanwhile, so in 2023, 2024, they produced 1/3 of their six-seater emissions that they had in the past. This was achieved by also moving snowmaking to the hydroelectric power plant. They emphasized also regional mobility, so local mobility actually, by switching company cars to electric vehicles with a private use allowance. And wherever Gorm could not actually reduce their carbon footprint, they are now supporting selected climate protection projects in Romania, Ethiopia, and Mongolia. So yes, we know that there are some aspects in tourism where offsetting is particularly hard. But what they do is they just, so to speak, shore off the climate aspect by doing good somewhere else. What they achieved is a steep reduction in CO2 emissions. They will continue on their path until 2030. I'm sorry, and so basically. This is the first testimonial that we have had. We are now moving a bit eastwards to a snow space in Salzburg. This is at the very heart of Austria, located at the Bavarian German border in the midst of Austria. Their core aspect was to become climate neutral by 2026. The first and most ambitious aspect here was to switch their energy consumption to 100% green energy. They now have snow groomers powered by biofuels. And to emphasize the relevance here, they also engaged in a partnership with the manufacturer of those snow groomers, which in turn also leads to them turning to hydrogen powered in the far-fetched future. What they offered to anybody living in Salzburg, that they can travel to the snow space by train for free. This was some particularly interesting partnership with the Austrian Federal Railways, and the aim was to increase the visitors coming by rail from 8% to 20% by 2026, and they are currently on their way. And maybe as a fun fact, what they also offer is a quiz in the gondola, and the QR code is there to reveal the correct answer on their sustainability measures, which makes it interactive and use the time in the gondola more sensibly. Their foundation was data accuracy, because we will come to this later. Data accuracy is the core aspect when we talk about actually achieving sustainability in tourism, because as long as I do not know what actually it is that I'm measuring or where I actually want to have my measures take effect, I will fail miserably. So what they did is they are extremely data driven. Those were the two aspects from winter tourism. We are now switching to the summer with yet another classical poster child view from the Austrian Alps. Again, we are in Salzburg. They developed a global warming themed hiking tour, which is also officially visible on the website, where you can see and scroll through all of the hiking tours in the region, because in Saalfelden-Leogang, what they discovered is the new average temperature is 7.3 degrees, which is considerably higher than before. This then in turn made it visible for them that this is a plus 1.8 degrees Celsius increase in the long-term average. All of this data stems from 1971 to 2000, and the droughts that I listed here now occur every 5 years, and previously it was every 10 years. So this is the hiking trail. Again, raises awareness in this regard to show that yes, there is an impact, and yes, climate change is not a myth, and it's a phenomenon that you can actually measure also in tourism. When we turn now to the next testimonial, we turn to Lower Austria. It's the Austrian province surrounding Vienna. And there is and I will now translate from German, it's the Paradise Garden Festival. It's a CO2 neutral music festival with the core aspects on transparency and environmental responsibility. What does that mean for them? It's a 3-day festival, and meanwhile they reduced 17 million plastic caps. They reduced the overall CO2 emissions in the first year already by 12,000 kilos. What they also offered, again in a collaboration with the Austrian Federal Railways, is a free night train for the visitors. And by sourcing organically grown vegetarian meals, they also cater to the needs of their festival visitors in a effective means. Because in turn, what they achieved in the first year that they did this is they in fact turned CO2 neutral. So consequently, as I already mentioned, everything here is usually based on data. And what I would like to just briefly show is a report from McKinsey, the potential for solving staff shortages through a combination of solutions. And we see that every aspect of tourism, be it resorts until sightseeing and dining, so the service-oriented parts, can basically rely on the support of tech. Yes, it is a gradual way until we are there, but there is a panoply of measures that each and every player in the field can take to actually A, increase digitalization, and B, reduce the impacts on nature and environment. If I may briefly turn to where the habitat factors in the Austrian ecosystem is basically that Austria took decisive measures in supporting local and regional initiatives. There is the FFG is the Austrian Basic Research and Innovation Bank, and it's also one of the two government agencies with a dedicated support program for tourism and in turn for digitalization in tourism. What they did in the first place is to simplify forms and procedures. Basically, it was no longer necessary to supply a vast amount of paperwork, submitting it, getting it scanned, etc., but actually reducing it, simplifying things to get to a quicker decision, which projects can actually be supported by FFG. Further, they developed a platform to reunite all the participants in the tourism sector. We had Government Innovation Award with a dedicated focus on tourism. So the so-called Staatspreis, so it's basically the federal government's prices on innovation, had a dedicated tourism focus, and this also helped a lot. And the last and, in my opinion, very valid example that they took is they emphasized open innovation. What does this mean? Digitalization is something where particularly the laggards, particularly SMEs, usually struggle, so they can apply for digitalization coaches, and they are there to make those programs actually work. And it also included a regulatory sandbox approach, so to speak. That means in case some region wanted to simply try things out, and we'll see this in a couple of minutes, they basically allowed this within a time-restricted frame, and this basically allowed to test things in a very simple way. The last aspect was also digital competences. I listed it here on the slide. Also, starting from the apprenticeships that the Austrian tourism schools offer. They had trainer sessions for the teachers, and they emphasized that the digital skills also to be transferred to the apprentices at a very, very young age. Next up is a practical example. Basically, the Austrian tourism data space was piloted in the region of Seefeld, which is located in Tyrol. It's between Salzburg and Vorarlberg, so basically the two regions that we already had before. And the aim was here to show what is possible via a data-driven tourism approach. This aspect in the first step included programmatic advertising, so that Also, at very short notice, things could be advertised to visitors, and based on location-based services, the region of Seefeld basically could develop new business models because it's less on demand and more just in time. The aim is also to integrate all the data that is readily available out there within the click of a button to make this part of the actual offering of tourism companies in Austria, meaning once you know there is a festival taking place in the region or a big conference, and once you know the weather is going to be good, all the players in tourism will get a heads up that they should maybe increase their capacity to the utmost extent. And it's also an opener for them, for the local tourism board, to talk to people in tourism more easily. So this is basically a very hands-on forecasting approach, which was sustained also by the Austrian tourism. Now the big question, of course, remaining is how do you do that? So you basically have two paradigms. You want to decouple the siloed data wherever it is and standardize the data that allows you then to use it via APIs to in turn work on the customer journey. The roadmap to success in this case, and this is also based on a study conducted by the University of Berlin, please think the business case first. And once you know what the business case actually looks like, we then develop features and benefits. The data will come in because there is a lot of data free floating out there. And only then, and once you know who is going to operate this business model in the long run, you should develop the minimum viable product, the prototype to actually test it with consumers, and of course, then develop this tech product. I just wanted to briefly also include a bonus track for you. The bonus track is you will usually be you will easily find the skills necessary to develop the business case and all the surroundings that are necessary here. What is currently still happening is a prohibitive pricing scheme by telecoms. The Austrian tourism currently tries to overcome this barrier by grouping the demands of various regions together to make this affordable also for smaller regions. You can somehow compare this to the retail data that is available by AC Nielsen, and only the big corporates usually can afford this. This is currently the same phenomena that we experience in the field of tourism with regards to pricing schemes for the location-based services data by the telecoms. What is also relevant is there is 4 layers that you need to work on because value creation is when data is passed on from one layer to the next. And basically, this is the 4 layers. It's data. And once you switch from data to semantics, so basically making sense of the data, you add the first layer. You come to the next layer, and this basically is where value creation actually happens. Once you understand the data, you can analyze it, the next step, and then the last one is the presentation on how do you do that. And this is where the Austrian tourism is pretty open to suggestions out there. And if we take this into account, what does this mean in a very hands-on way? And I'm not turning to tourism, but in a maybe a bit abstract form. Once we talk guest psychology, those are the signs that you will see at the trams in Vienna. So basically, you see the numbering of the tram line, and you will see the final destination. And if guests today see that they need to wait, but they don't know for how long. Even if the train already comes in 3 minutes, the guest is unhappy, is not satisfied. Even if the train arrives in 7 minutes, but he knows it's in 7 minutes, it's much easier for them. And this is basically what was done here by the Vienna transport system. You can also think this big at a large scale. And unfortunately, I have to turn to a US example, but to just briefly show you what is possible with data out there, with your collective permission, I will just briefly pass into this example. There is a so-called smart gating. That's there to optimize the taxi route at airports to save fuels. There is information for passengers at large scale, 5,000 flights a day, and you could not do this manually. So what United Airlines, part of Starlines in Europe, developed is software that basically reads out where are only very short connection times to catch the next flight. And what they did is that basically they delay the following flight by a couple of minutes to allow passengers to switch from the previous flight to the next one. And what that in turn means is, yes, the gate will be kept open. Users will get, upon their arrival, a text message saying on how do they navigate the airport. Then they get a map of the airport where they need to go actually to shorten the transfer time, actually the transfer way, quite geographically speaking. And in turn, that means that on average, they save 2,100 connections per day. And so this is basically where digitalization can lead us. It's all part of the customer journey. And if we talk in categories, we know how relevant all of this is because these are the categories where consumers want to treat themselves in the next 3 months. It's data from August 2023, yet again by McKinsey. And it's, of course, it's restaurant and travel. So those are the two big aspects where digitalization can also kick in with the aim of allowing an experience that is unrivaled. What I'm showing also to get back to the 4 layers that we have had before, basically what you see here, all of this is the truth. Once we talk layers of data, we need to identify where does the data come from, how can we operate it, and how can we actually then switch to the impact to the bottom line with regards to your guests. Christoph, so much from my presentation. I hand over to you again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for elaborating on that. On the Austrian tourism and the digitalization tourism, yeah, I would be glad to hand over to Shahram, who was jumping in the agenda. Let me know if you
can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And you can see the video? Okay, I'll just share my screen.
I do not see it yet. You can try to share it.
Now it's okay?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. Thanks for the introduction, Christoph, and also Florian for very interesting insights about some real, very solid cases that obviously are emerging and they're cutting edge. But at the same time, we see that there's a lot still to do, no? And there's a lot of potential and opportunities. So I'll be talking a little bit more theoretically because, sorry, my presentation is about more the methodologies and the frameworks and let's say tools and approaches that we use in this Futurism project, which thankfully was funded by the European Union. So if I just switch to this. So what we have is, first of all, I'd like to present this project briefly because it's important that we understand that Futurism is 4 million euro project that's been funded by the European Commission, ESMEA, the European SME agency, part of the Commission, as I said. So this is mainly focused on SME. So most of this money actually goes to directly fund SME projects that are innovative, that are disruptive, that want to be innovative, even if they're not, but they need to show ambition for some kind of a deep transition, not just simple sustainability, let's say, or incremental innovation. So I'll just go a little bit of data. This is a 36-month project. As you can see, it was funded by this was the ESMEA, belongs to COSME. COSME is the single market program for competitiveness of SMEs across Europe. So as you see, it's a very broad ecosystem of excellent partners. And, here we have our Austrian partner hosting today. We're running a series of workshops as a, let's say, pilot, because we are still in design phase. So what we want to do is start disseminating information about this project. And here we have, for example, Open Impact, that measures all the impact in reference to SDGs and the real kind of regenerative impact in terms of social and ecological, let's say, transition to a better model than we have today. The DMOs are the destination management authorities, organizations that are government, public authorities in Valencia and Croatia. We have two cities. Sorry, Croatia is Podgora? No, it's not Podgora. Sorry, it's because we just changed the partner. But we have two very different, let's say, setups. One is a coastal city, another one is a small village, but with a lot of cultural heritage that needs to be restored and maintained. Valencia has, as you know, it's a big city where I am today. It's got a lot of challenges regarding massification of tourism, with the, scooters going everywhere, or all the apartments have been taken over by, venture funds that are using them as hotels. So people don't have access to affordable housing. So there's a lot of systemic issues that are obviously a concern for the citizens. So tourism cannot override citizen interest, and economic interest, let's say, should not really override the commons, the common good. So here what we're trying to do is design systems that are regenerative. So I'm just going to go to this slide. So one of the approaches that we take is the 4 helix model, which is an approach to create a kind of a living lab experimental space that, of course, has to be place-based, because that's where things happen. And it has to have a real life context. So it has to be, let's say, fluid and present in the current moment, not downloading from past, let's say, business as usual habits, but looking forward, what we call into the emerging future. So here we have a combination of what's the users, but really this is representing the community, let's say the citizens, the tourists, everybody that's part of even the civil society organizations. You have the private actors with, of course, the SMEs and the companies. You have the public actors, of course, have to be present. So everybody has a voice in the design of this innovation lab. Of course, the knowledge institutions, the tech centers, they are the hub of innovation and the cutting edge. So how do we transition, or let's say, spin out the knowledge that we have in these drawers? As they say, a lot of the knowledge stays in drawers in universities, in polytechnics, but never makes it to the market. So how do we make a bridge to allow this innovation to reach the market, if the market, let's say, if it's marketable? Because of course, a lot of times, maybe it's too advanced, the market is not ready, or it's just too out there to be, let's say, accepted. So here, another thing to consider is we're talking about deep innovation, deep purpose, because what we want to do is resolve some of the root problems of the current systemic results that we've been seeing over the last years, of course, culminating in the financial crisis of 2008, which then continued to, let's say, like an earthquake, no, that has a lot of rebound and has been to this day continuing to get worse before it can get better. So when we talk about deep purpose, we want to create economical equity so that not all the funds get transferred out of the place. They don't get sent to tax havens and just get placed there and serve the interest of a very minority of the population. We look talking about social interests, so we want to have the well-being of society in a frame. And we also want ecological viability, because of course, this is the biggest circle, because this is the life supporting system. So if this fails, everything fails, right? So the economy depends on the ecology and the society, not the other way around. And the economy should be at the service of the ecology and society. So this is, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail in this. These slides will be available to you, so you can read a little bit more. But as you will see, all the models that we use are compatible because they're part of the same story. People are taking different ways to tackle the same root problems, not the iceberg, not the tip of the iceberg, because that doesn't tackle the root problem. We need to identify the tip of the iceberg, but then dig deep to see where's the real problem. Circular economy and cradle-to-cradle design. As you may, of course, know, this is about circularity, it's about reuse, it's about upcycling, it's about repairing, it's about considering the full life cycle impact, all the way to the final, let's say, decommissioning and reuse and so on. So back into the circle. And cradle-to-cradle design and biomimicry and all that is about integrating with ecological design. Ecological design, it's bigger, so we need to comply with that. Otherwise, of course, we have some room to maneuver, but if we break ecological diversity. Hello? Can you just confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
I had a little tech bump, but okay. So the other thing to consider is, what is regenerative culture? Why, regenerative culture goes beyond sustainability, because sustainability comes from a top-down, let's say SDG, UN, European Commission approach, which is excellent to frame the political context, the policies. However, regenerative culture is a bottom-up, community-driven mind shift approach, where we consider all these things.
Sharon, are you
Yeah,
there?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just wondering. Please proceed.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
so I'm sharing the screen again because I'm having some. I had to unfortunately jump in, and I'm in a hotel, so sometimes it might be a Wi-Fi issue. So, just to mention that, again, we talked about 4Helix innovation. So this is just a summary of what it's about, why it's relevant, because it enables projects to benefit from diverse perspectives and facilitate the real world testing, and a continuous improvement manner. So what's the relationship between fourth sector and common good enterprises? Well, the difference between common good enterprises, as you know, as there might be cooperatives, there might be associations, there might be B Corp, there might be alliances, is that they don't have the single interest of one company or very specific shareholders or capital interest as the priority. What they want is to collaborate in resolving real life challenges. So we create collaborative organizations, and that's why our project Futurism is about creating collaborative organizations. So these collaborative organizations, of course, are also distributed organizations, and we can benefit now from the power of cooperative platforms, from blockchain transactions, from, let's say, closed system, but also open source economies where transaction can take place within the community, and the economic value created can stay in the community So let's say if you plant tomatoes and then you go and buy tomatoes, you can get a discount because you already have been putting your time or effort to plant those tomatoes. Or if you're recovering the soil, that soil is creating value, is creating carbon capture. So you can have ecotourism. You can have people going to the rural areas and let's say cultivate and cook together or whatever. So there's a lot of projects now happening to create this kind of community-driven approach. When we talk about life-centered and earth-centered design, again, is the same. So it's about guiding the projects to consider the impact on both the people and the environment. This is also about social innovation. So it's about how to create new solutions. So for example, disability or people who have limitations in mobility in tourism, of course, there are many projects now happening to make life better for them, to make their user experience rich and as good as it can be, and also prepare the places for them. So this is about development of the commons good society, because the current, let's say the first sector, the second sector, and the NGO sector have not been able to tackle the crisis of the commons. So there's been a failure, and this is why the fourth sector, which is an emerging sector, is about this collaborative approach. So it doesn't exclude anyone, but it's about onboarding everybody to work in a different way. Of course, this is also aligned with the handy NASA model because it helps assess the impact of the resource use and the long-term sustainability, but they've also identified societal collapse risk from resource over-exploitation in terms of labor and nature also. Okay, so this is another project, but of course it's interesting to see that in a real case about preservation of cultural heritage, that of course includes folklore, includes music, includes buildings, includes all kinds of cultural, local languages. So this is about respecting the place, the people. And it's about environmental responsibility, education and awareness, mind shift, consciousness, change, and so on. So I wanted to just leave very briefly one video, a couple of 1-minute videos, which are very short, but I don't know if you will be able to hear the sound. So I'm hoping you will, otherwise let's see.
Just try
Yeah,
it. I
allows
think
you
it
to
should
share
work.
computer audio. Okay, I'm doing it now.
Just go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So I'm just wrapping up now.
Generative innovation and enterprises 4.0.
Yeah, very silently. Maybe we can turn it up a bit.
We must address ecological and spiritual divides to build a regenerative society and culture.
Is that better?
Let's explore regenerative innovation and enterprises 4.0, focusing on transformative relearning and collective.
We can hear the subtitles are there as well, so I think it's gonna be fine. Yeah.
I'm sorry? Christoph?
So just from my side, you can proceed. We have subtitles.
And you can hear the sound.
The voice is a bit low. If you can turn it up.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, I'll go for that. Yeah, I'll do my best. Yeah, I can see.
And enterprises 4.0, focusing on transformative relearning and collective purpose. We must address ecological and spiritual divides to build a regenerative society and culture. Emphasizing co-designing for the common good, we move towards a collective purpose. Enterprises 4.0 require deep transformative relearning to thrive in a regenerative society. Imagine a post-patriarchal regenerative society and culture 4.0 where equality and sustainability are core. The project aims at scaling nature-based solutions and new European Bauhaus interventions. New European Bauhaus interventions promote sustainability by focusing on regenerative innovation, co-designing collective purposes, and addressing ecological and spiritual divides, fostering a post-patriarchal regenerative society. By integrating nature-based solutions, NBS, and NEB interventions across various sectors, the innovation project will enhance urban resilience, well-being, and local economies through a comprehensive regenerative, 4.0 framework. As an example of a European project where such approaches are integrated, in FU-Tourism project, a European-funded project, WISE NESS and NEB for EU, developed by Eupolis, Human Nation, and partners, aims to tackle ecological degradation and social inequality by emphasizing transformative learning, co-designing purposes, and fostering collaboration for.
Okay, so I'm not going to bore you. I will also share the video. I think it's very interesting, of course, but I just wanted to jump into this very interesting approach.
Explore and learn about the power of cluster and 4-helix ecosystems.
I'm sorry, I just need to be a bit more organized. Is this one?
To restore landscapes sustainably. Check out these essential resources. First up, the For-Return framework for landscape restoration, which has been developed by Commonland, headquarters in Netherlands, is
Oh, good.
perfect
I have
for
these
understood,
early mornings with
multifaceted
my
restoration.
alarms.
Utilize the For-Returns land.
Yeah? Tell me, please. Is that okay? Christoph? Can you hear me, Christoph? I can't hear you.
I think you can continue.
Yep. Okay, so this is actually an interesting case developed by Commonland, and as you may know, Spain, in the south of Spain, is the largest amount of land managed by Commonland in Europe. Also in Australia is their biggest globally. But they have demonstrated how they have involved the community into this co-design work, working with farmers, working with businesses, working with public authority, and working, of course, with the land. In fact, one of the projects is very much focused on, for example, planting aromatic plants, as you can see, that allow for bees and butterflies to return to the area, because, of course, they're the biggest pollinizers. And that also means that there's less need for, let's say, monoculture interventions and moving towards permaculture and regenerative agriculture. So these are very good examples that I wanted to share with you. I will now wrap up and hand over back to Christoph. So thank you so much for your attention, and I will send the information to you for further.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Sharam. Thank you so much. This is certainly valuable input for the project. I may just hand over to Daniel, who will elaborate on harnessing regenerative innovation and digitalization on Austria's future. So please, Daniel, the floor is yours.
I hope you can see me, and I'm gonna also share my screen now.
Please move ahead. We do not see the screen yet, but yeah.
And big screen. Yeah, perfect. You already mentioned my title, and I have now the challenge to combine what Christoph, Florian, and Sharam said. And I brought to use two German words. Yeah. First, the outline of my presentation. I divided it into three parts. The first part is taking the focus on problem solution perspective and answers the question Florian raised in his first part, so is how to develop sustainable and impactful services, product, or impact solutions. The second part is answers the question, so how do we get from there to the more systemic perspective Sharam just raised, and I brought you a handful of different approaches Sharam just mentioned, so we will go a little bit deeper and try to get into the question of how to develop sustainable regenerative models, business models, and projects. And last but not least, I brought you a bunch of practical toolboxes which you can use in your practice project or research approach whatsoever. I'm coming from the field of sustainable impact innovation, having done project in the past of for big organization, for countries, for governments, and also I've been working with Shahram and his circle, developing sustainable approach, sustainable future-oriented approaches. And where I want to start is with the mind shift, because all the buzzwords we heard from Shahram and Florian are very difficult to understand sometimes, and I think German is a perfect language for that, because it precisely describes what it's all about, what you heard before. So on one hand, it's to develop some kind of Selbstwirksamkeit for yourself, but also for your stakeholders, because once you develop that in a tourism sector, and they believe in them, they are likely to embrace these new technologies, these new approaches, these new solutions, which we just heard before. So then the second question is Zukunftsfähigkeit. All these sustainable, resilient, regenerative approaches answers one question: how do we get our company, our project zukunftsfähig? So what you should answer is the question: what does it take to be there in 30, 40, 50 years, and what do I have to do today? And that's what Shahram meant from leading from emergent future. So I'll elaborate on that. And building on what Florian mentioned in his presentation, and the question he asked, so how can we switch to an impactful and innovative approach? And also what Shahram tried to answer, tried to raise the question, so how we can tackle the tip of the iceberg. That's the first part of my presentation, where we're going to focus on this mind shift through a different innovation, because through a different methodology and mindset. There are many theories. I like to take the hybrid project management into perspective, which answers the question: how can we overcome volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity? It raises on many methodologies Shahram just raised, and how can we develop new visions, new stories? I'm sure that's why you're all here today. How we can gain new skills and new competences to decode the complexity and understand the uncertainty better. With an empowerment of new skills. How can we collaborate? How can we align new ways of collaboration? To get the clarity we need to understand the complexity better, and how can we overcome ambiguity and develop new business models, which we heard in both presentations. And that's what I'm trying to give you. So for each perspective, I'm going to give you a handful of ideas, of solution opportunities. And if you have any questions, I'm sure we can answer them in the panel, or please put them in the chat as well. So the United Nations comes up with every 5 to 4 years with different different suggestions of how to solve the problems and what kind of skills we need to solve the problems ahead. And they're on a broader level basically built on communication, on creative problem solving, on self-management, on collaboration. And this is that's what we need to do for that. To achieve that, it's going to take our perspective out of our sector. So to see how other sectors learn it. So we build interdisciplinary cross-functional teams, and try to evaluate their learning, to relearn, and then learn again. And that's basically what these future approaches, which we just heard in these presentations, are for. So how can we change behavior, implement new practices, and develop new competencies? And that's basically the foundation for me is design thinking. I'm a designer and a system thinker. And so we try to take, first of all, a perspective of the individual, a human-centered approach. And that's what I'm going to run now through. Yeah, give you a definition of what design thinking is, and then the outcome and analysis of what we do. A part of that, I developed for each of my 3 parts a Miro board. I'm guiding to for deeper research. I'm guiding you through in the end. Yeah. So, what is design thinking? And how can it be used in transforming tourism? First of all, it's a human-centered innovation approach to solve complex problems. Yeah, so it's not. It's about if you're in a situation where you're not sure what is the actual problem, who are the actual stakeholders, what can be the actual solution. So you're completely in chaos, and you try to develop an understanding which takes the target group or the project into focus. Yeah, the needs of the consumer end user. And if you want to enhance the user experience, especially Florian mentioned, by integrating diverse perspective of and collaboration solution, then design thinking is for you. And jumped ahead. And so, what is design thinking? It's first of all an approach of, and what you need to do for that is identify the core problem by asking precise questions, visualize the idea, and then guide teams towards a solution, and coordinate these concepts I'm presenting you now. And these concepts can be shown in many different ways. I'm sure if you do the research, you find probably different approaches, but the most common one is the so-called double diamond, where you focus on the beginning, on the problem, and go into the research perspective to gain insights of the problem, and then you cut it down to one problem, by understanding, observing, and creating a point of view. And you always try to get a divergent and convergent perspective. So once you get all the problems you have and cut it down to one perspective. That's a problem focus. Get into research and gaining insights. And then you go into the ideation part by creating an idea. And then you open the scale again. You create as many ideas as possible. Sometimes it's better to develop 100 ideas, even if 95 of them are complete bollocks. Then you can combine the top 5% and develop one solution. Build a prototype, visualize and test it. And if you have done that, and all over again, you go back to the target group, you adapt the prototype. Maybe the prototype is not good, then you maybe go back to the idea or to the point of view process. You can always jump around. And if you have done that, then it's going to be the implementing part. And there that we come to future business models. And that's you can do. The first 2 parts we already did. We did project management, now product development. And when I say product, I mean service, I mean impact solution. It's all to be understood for my presentation as a synonym, depending on what field of SMEs or commerciality or country you're working from. And so if you identify then the market, develop a business model around it for scale. Why for scale? It's important that you not only focus on a small city or region, but that you try to gain perspectives which can be implemented in many different places. Especially in Europe. Also, the project Shara mentions, they are always the condition we have to serve in order to get funding is that we have minimum 3 or 4 different stakeholders of different countries where these prototypes are tested and implemented. So that's one perspective, and now I'm going to jump over to the fields. Digitalization I already mentioned, where you can do these MVP consumer testing and customer journeys. Florian mentioned, and also to go deeper and switch into to impact. So now, before I jump to the frameworks for regenerative and sustainable transformation, I also I want to give you a short overview of what, from my perspective, can be done. So the digitalization, where you can do trends analysis, opportunities and challenges, identification, and then integrate different kinds of technologies. For example, now AI solutions in combination with what you already heard before. Yeah, and then see also, which is very important, to not only focus on your inner circle, but also who are the stakeholders, and build an ecosystem. Yeah, develop the ecosystem, and then map them out to understand the system you're working in better, and identify successful examples of engagement, maybe also from other sectors, and develop them to be able to build strategic emergent topics. Yeah. And see which kind of role innovation, regeneration, or resilient can play to showcase these innovation examples we already have heard before. And so to come back to beginning my second part, I want to come back to the questions of how do we come now from this creative problem-solving solution to a focused systemic perspective. Yeah, and what is really important is that your company, your project, not only focuses on the input, yeah, your activities and the output. Yeah, these are mostly clear, but also focuses on the impact for the immediate target group, for the outcomes. Yeah, and more importantly, for the impact you want to serve for higher good. Yeah, for example, for the civic society. Hence, it's important to develop a theory of change for your projects. Which now guiding into which now will lead to many of these buzzword examples Sharam used, because the system thinking approach, and the system change approach we just heard lead to system innovation. And this is by to take another buzzword we mentioned, is open impact or open social innovation. What does it actually mean? It's nothing else than to focus on the input activities, on the output, outcomes, and impacts. And I brought you here an example of some project from the European Union we developed. It's first like you identify the challenges, harvesting, then you build alliance, then you start a mission, identify the needs of the stakeholders, understand your system in the end, and then you can scale. Then you can scale for impact. And how you get there? By using the results you get from and the principles you get from design thinking, implement them into these system thinking approaches and tools, which we also used when we came up with the deep demonstration of long-termism, which is the foundation for all the futurism projects we are now part of. And and that's by taking a holistic perspective, create a system model, and then just take one lever of change where we want to go for impact and go deeper then. Yeah, and that's what it means, what Sharam said, by leading from an emerging future, because it's important that you map your system and try to change it, because otherwise you cannot understand it. Yeah? And then you cannot change the system unless you change consciousness. Therefore, this mindset switch is very important. And also, to get there, you need to understand and see the system and sense it in order to get to real system change. And here I brought you three methodologies and examples how you can get it, and which is used widely from cities, regions, and countries. Sharam mentioned already the donut economics, which takes 9 planetary boundaries and also the social boundaries. And if it comes here to overshoot, it explodes, and if it comes to social shortfall, it implodes. So the theory says it targets to or aims to try to take all parameters and all KPIs. And if you do this approach in your project management instead of just very simple Friedmanian KPI solutions, then you will get a much more complex and a much more regenerative approach, building on what Sharam just mentioned. So that's one theory. And if you look, we coming from Berlin, we have Donut Berlin, there's Donut Hamburg, we have Donut in I'm sure also in Vienna, in London. So this is a community which could give you all the tools you need in order to get different perspectives. Another example is SID, Symbiosis and Development. which is a framework which integrates system thinking, sustainable theories I mentioned, and the practical application, and takes a holistic resilience design, which is also implemented by Accept here from Ton Böschert, which is one of Dutch's very most innovative sustainability architecture offices, and by Eva Kladek from Metabolic, who does city development and region development with this methodology. And what you do there, you go through a 4 different process by team formation, project goals, identification, then do the research, develop a system. Yeah, it's much more complex than what I show you actually. And then in the end, use the data development Florian mentioned to conceptualize new development and obviously do the documentation. And another one which you also should do in order to see the future is project yourself 30, 40 years, so 2045 or 2050 is now an approach which is used by reinventing society, and create pictures where you see the future, how it could be. Yeah, for example, here in Frankfurt or Berlin, how it could look like in 2045. And here are more research opportunities you can dive into. And last but not least, it's very important to understand first your own system and develop a strategy, a workflow, and an evaluation to implement plans of actually how to get there, where you want to be. And here is basically a toolbox which we use in our workshops, our consulting gigs, where we find which gives you an overview of what you actually want to do. Do you want to go for sustainable development? For practical strategies, for an interdisciplinary collaboration approach. And here, the forthcoming examples, you find different similarities and strategies which will guide you there and help you to target to find a solution. By having an overview of different toolboxes you can use in order to evaluate the different outcomes and KPIs you get, and then to get from different from this design perspective to a business model, to value proposition, and last but not least to a regenerative impact solutions. That's the end of my presentation. Here in the end are a few more examples of opportunities Florian mentioned, and Sharam for open social innovation, which you can go through, or which we can use for the discussion I designed, and which had been hugely successful all over the world. And last but not least, I want to shortly guide you through the Prism to the Miro board. All I told you are deepening tools and readings from part 1, overview about the toolboxes I just showed you for a regenerative and resilient approach, and most importantly, the different sectors where you can use it. And you want to use it in collaboration, in countries, in SMEs where you use it, in cities, and regions, startups, or other consulting or social entrepreneurship gigs. That's from me. Thank you very much, and back to you, Florian, Christoph.
Thank you so much for this, Daniel. Also, sincerely thank you for Florian, Sharam, and Daniel for the inputs. We just want to open the floor right now, and basically we want also to get into the discussion. One question that I would start with is who are the main characters in the Austrian tourism sector that you would think that would drive this change? Maybe we can get some inputs on that.
So is this the roundtable kind of discussion? Are we opening it to the floor, Christoph?
Absolutely, yeah.
Ah, okay, because I thought there was also a couple of use cases, but I guess Daniel's and Florian's, especially, both of them had some very concrete examples of the live showcases. But if you want to jump to the discussion, that would be great. Yeah.
That's what I would think right now,
Yeah.
based on the presentations. I don't know, Florian, if you have another.
I think it would be really nice if the
Yeah.
participants could reflect on what was said and raise any concerns, questions, and even opportunities to collaborate. Of course, that's what we're here. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to jump in. You can even put your video on and speak, or without the video, just unmute yourself, or you can write in the chat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even if you're from Upolis, you can also ask questions.
So yeah, in terms of questions, we do have multiple of these. Just wondering.
Are we broadcasting on YouTube or no? Not this time. Maybe there might be questions.
No, this is not live. No.
No. Okay, this is a closed ballot. Okay, so I just wanted to add, just if I may, Christoph, one point to what's something that I learned in the actually master's course that I was doing back in 2013 was about this kind of collective intelligence, about collective consciousness. Well, collective intelligence is something more advanced that's been recently kind of become really in the fore, but collective unconscious is something that Jung raised, early in the past century, about how there is a kind of a collective understanding where today maybe our collective understanding from our education, from our 19th century education system, which is still very much live and kicking, and the old university system where, in fact, the universities used to be universities where you could explore the universe, but they became silo, departmental, kind of disconnected entities also to some extent, although they specialized, and that really helped advance technology and knowledge. However, we need to kind of reconnect the kind of departments into more collaborative approaches to benefit from this collective intelligence. And the other thing that Daniel mentioned about design thinking is that in the old design thinking concept, or in the initial one, it was a user-centric approach. So we wanted to, let's say, use the user as a consumer, but offering them what they really want, and even personalization, which is great. It was a huge advancement from kind of like a tech push, process push, where or science push approaches where they would just dump something into society or into organizations that it was expected that it would be uptaken. However, now we're moving to this kind of systemic design thinking, which is not about end users, about collective, let's say, understanding and making sure that all users and all actors in community are served in a more equitative way. So this is kind of moving from a consumer-based society to a knowledge-based and more advanced collective society, which is a 4.0, of course, as mentioned. I just really think this is also very relevant, and I will just shut up now and allow you to ask any questions. Alexander, maybe you want to ask something, and then I'll jump back into just showing you a couple of diagrams.
Yes, if the floor is open for questions, I would like
Of
to
course,
ask
yeah.
you, as a specialist in the tourism area, a rather more global question, because as you may know, Europe includes different cultural, economic, and environmental conditions. So how can tourism SMEs incorporate digital green technologies to enhance sustainable practices while also respecting and adapting to the unique environmental, cultural, economic conditions of their local communities? Is there any methodology or methods that they can apply?
Well, I think both Daniel and Florian, and partly my presentation was about multiple different methodologies that kind of all saying the same thing in different words. So please elaborate, Daniel, if you want on that point, maybe. Or Florian, if you want to add something to any specific examples, let's say. I think my understanding is that bringing different entities to work together, so let's say a digital SME that has nothing to do with tourism might have a solution from another sector that's completely adaptable and very relevant to tourism. As we know, with AI, this is already happening across the board. So digitalization is about, in that case, creating these kind of collaborative solutions and trying to find these links. Same with public sector, for example. So if you have a problem with tourism apartments, you know, the public sector needs to intervene. If you have a problem with scooters everywhere thrown around the cities and people going like crazy with scooters, knocking over old people or whatever, and tourists. But, you know, we need to solve that at the policy level, not at the regulatory level. So it needs to, so I'm not sure if anybody wants to add something to that, and anybody from the floor, if you have any ideas.
Yeah, I may, but Florian, do you want to elaborate on the first question, or you want me to go first? Okay, thanks. Well, what the question you raised is basically about this approach Florian mentioned about open social innovation, and I haven't been able to show you my slides during the presentation because of time issues, but now I can. And I will guide you quickly through that what I brought you, because I thought it might be a good way to use this approach also in tourism. So what we did is basically, how you can develop fast ideas for one sector. And we started during the pandemic, where we prepared a 5-day hackathon, which then took over 3 days. We started on a Sunday and did the hackathon on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And with over 43,000 participants, which developed over this 3-day period over 1,900 solutions. Yeah, and for regional and cross-sectorial solutions of COVID. The same we did 3 weeks later, and with a huge network of partners with for the AFDB, for the African Development Bank, and also in small for the Climate Journey, which is a leadership program of university students. And so I imagined what one can do exactly the same also for tourism. Let's do an Austrian tourism hackathon or a touristicon. Yeah, you can call it however you want. Yeah, because the principles are basically the same. You have a problem owner which brings in an idea or a problem. Yeah, then you look for collaborators, participants, give them different roles of an expert, of a designer, of a developer, whatever you need in this case, and then you brainstorm ideas. Yeah, develop a project over 3 days, and then you build and test it, and create some kind of prototype. And that problem can then lead to that many coaches, many politicians, institutions, foundations, companies, science, and experts get together and think the system new and create really innovative solutions which you are not able to think in a small sector, and bring also in the problems civic society might have with tourism, and maybe you identify even new field of this tourism of innovative technical solutions you can bring in. Yeah, and then in the end, and this is what I meant when understands the system on the end, then when you did that, when you iterated on that over a larger period of half a year or a year, then you get an understanding of the system and you can map it, and then you get different organizations, companies, sectorial players and stakeholders who bring out new solutions. Yeah, and that's I listed here also a couple of more use cases. You can deepening these kind of approaches I mentioned in my presentation, but I think that is what it's about. Yeah, to understand the system through collaboration, develop something which is not clear in the beginning, in order to get an understanding of what it's possible, and then obviously find the money and partners to implement it, which is always a challenge. But I think from this sector and with the stakeholders we have here, it's definitely possible to come up with an open innovation project.
Thank you very much for the comprehensive answers.
Thank you. Sorry, Alex, for that. Just going through our agenda, I wanted to ask, because we have missed out on a break that was scheduled. If you agree, I would suggest that we have a 10-minute break, because afterwards we would get some inputs on the live showcases with Ines Ganna on the AI
Do you mind,
resource
Christoph,
software.
if we just address one question that was, I mean, first of all,
Sure.
Florian was going to also follow up
Thank
on what Daniel
Yeah.
said. And then,
Okay,
and then-
yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's okay. I'll just kind of facilitate a little bit the round table, because there's also a question from Katarina. Florian, there's also a question from Katarina in the chat. You might be able to link it through. So I'll just leave it with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharam. We are a bit behind schedule, so I would just very briefly share my screen again. Can somebody please confirm that my screen is visible?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I basically condensed the two slides that I previously had, and I added the first line. And the first line is one that I used to be a university lecturer at the Technical University of Vienna, which I cannot emphasize enough. Whenever you define a goal, please define a goal by the content, what it is that you actually want to achieve, the extent. So basically the definition of done and by when you want to have something achieved. So this is the first question you should clarify before you hop in, finding solutions left and right. And that having said, the roadmap to success, and this is why I put it in, please think the business case first. The question is, which are the features, which are the benefits that you want to provide, what is the ideal outcome, and then you can think things through, because otherwise you start developing a new solution, a new offering, and maybe you then need to rework your approach twice and thrice and 4 times, etc. And this will then basically only add to the cost, which may render the complete project unsustainable in the long run. And as said, please, whenever defining a digital project, bear in mind that there is 3 layers that are relevant. It's the data, and then it's the semantics. You need to not only to follow the old consulting rule, garbage in, garbage out, when you go into digitalization, but digitization in and of itself means that you should also reconsider what of it that you have should you actually make use of in due course of your project, and you need to understand things. This is basically semantics and analytics, and then finally you need to think of a sensible and useful graphical user interface, because otherwise people will not use it, and then even the most sensibly designed tool will fail to deliver on its promise. I hope, Alexander, that this answered your question. I'm keeping the answer explicitly short, as we are extremely short on time. And Christoph, you suggested we have a break. It's now 3:20, and if I may, we continue. I suggest we continue at 3:30. So basically, in 10 minutes and some seconds.
Yeah, maybe apart from the bio break and coffee and so on, maybe we can have also reflect on what was said, and any more questions might come up. Please do bring them forth.
Absolutely, I think that makes total sense. So yeah, let's just have.
Sorry, I think, Christoph,
yeah.
we also addressed Katarina's question,
Yeah.
I think, with Florian's responses. So
So for
unless,
that, yeah.
Katarina, you have any other?
Please move ahead, yeah.
Sorry, Christoph, just making sure Katarina's question's answered.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Katarina, let's just move ahead.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
confirmed. Yeah, thank
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think we got lots of inputs on that. As said, following the schedule that we have planned. Also, yeah, let's have just a short break on that. Let's grab a coffee, and we will suggest to come back then on 15:30 to continue yeah, on the next steps. So thank you very much to everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm just checking who is online. Daniel here. Yeah. Let's see. Let's wait for 2 more minutes to figure out who will be back after the break.
Christoph, I do not feel like interfering into your moderation, but may I ask Ines to already share her screen, because I assume that she will be having some presentation for us. Yes, thank you.
She's online already. Okay, sorry.
We can
Thank
kick
you.
off on
Thank you
time.
for
Thank you very
pointing
much.
this out. Let's move ahead then. Thank you.
All right. Shall I already start, or shall we wait for some more?
According to the agenda, we agreed on 15:30, so you can move ahead. That's
All right.
Thank you
So
very
you're
much.
able to see my screen already, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So hi everyone. It's a real pleasure seeing you in this virtual setting. I'm Ines. I'm the CEO and founder of Neatnick Solutions. And I know today you've already talked quite a lot about sustainability and how it can be implemented within tourism industry. And that's actually the reason why I'm here. So to just show you one of the use cases, how it can be done. With our startup Neatnick Solutions, we built a bridge between players of the tourism industry, such as hotels and the travelers. And we use guest data in order to decrease the carbon footprints of hotels, because we help hotels to align supply and demand before the guest arrives at the hotel. So how does work? I'm getting to it right away. For us personally, it's quite obvious what the future trends of hospitality are going to include. First of all, employees will be more empowered than ever, because right now they're just not able to make decisions on their own. Usually there needs some kind of management to interact with every kind of employee within, for example, a hotel. And we believe every technology has to be enabling in order to really make it hands-on for everyone. A second thing is for sure sustainability. So no matter what, no matter where, sustainability is one of the most important aspects for hospitality and its future. And also to increase predictability and decrease the carbon footprint. And a study of Moon et al. Has shown that companies like hotels are not willing to invest into sustainability initiatives just like that. Usually they need some kind of benefit, for example, a better guest experience or economic benefits. And this is where we think the third very most important aspect is for the future of tourism, the out of this world experience, the personalized approach. But what about hospitality in general? So there are quite some challenges. I mean, personalization, everyone is talking about it, everyone wants to do it, but actually it's quite difficult to really personalize the experience for all guests, because the guest is still a huge black box. So no one really knows all about it, and no one really knows what they want. But guest data is also not only the goal of the future, it already is so crucial, because guest data can help to better track the carbon footprint, and guest data can also be used in order to decrease the carbon footprint. because right now every hotel is providing every guest with as much as they can, especially above 4 stars. But what is more important is nowadays that they're able to prevent the waste of resources. But this is quite difficult because it's still another black box. No one knows what to do. And just to give you a clue about what it's all about, global, there is 1.3 billion tons of food wasted each year just in hospitality alone. And various studies have shown that 60% of this number could have been avoided just by having a more accurate planning base. So it's all about predictability. And another difficult topic is, of course, the coordination. So even though you want to have sustainable initiatives within your hotel, it's quite difficult to manage it and it's quite difficult to coordinate it. It's not like in a big corporate nowadays system or brand where you're able to, I don't know, where everyone has a computer, where everyone has access to it. Because just imagine in a hotel setting, really not every employee has an own email address, so sometimes coordination can be quite tricky. And this is where we come along. So we connect all of these dots. We help guests to get to know we connect guests and hotels, help hotels to know all about the guest preferences before they arrive, and they get smart clues from us to know exactly how to prepare for everyday operations. And that looks like this. A guest creates the profile on our platform once, including all of their information. Also passport information is included. And we encourage guests to create this profile because with this step, they are able to help the hotel to decrease their carbon footprint, to save precious resources, because they are not over providing, but rather they are providing exactly what they need for their stay. Let's take, for example, Anna was in a hotel last year and she was eating basically everything. This year is different. Now she's vegetarian, but because of last year's data, the hotel thought they need to buy all of the meat stuff and so on. Even though it would have been smarter to just ask her about her current status and, well, stock their supply with what she really needs. And by knowing all of this information from us before arrival, we help hotels to analyze this kind of data. We help them to track their carbon footprint, and we give them smart clues how every single hotel department can decrease their carbon footprint. So we say to restaurant, hey, pay attention. Next Saturday, there are more vegetarians than usual, so you should adapt your buffet planning. Or for housekeeping, only 1/3 of your guests needs a second pillow, so you do not need that many pillows, which means less washing, less cleaning, less water consumption and power consumption, and so on. And what our vision is, that is super clear, because no player can work alone within tourism industry, so everyone has to be part of the whole journey. And this is what our personal vision and our goal is. We want to connect individual travelers. We want to connect tourism companies such as hotels, restaurants, tour operators, aviation, or cruise ships, because like in cruise ships, every kilo counts. So each kilo they have less on board means they have less of fuel they need to calculate. Tourism ministries, agencies, and so on. And if all of these players work together, share data, and use data in a smart way, then tourism will be super green and have a very green future and a bright outcome. So just to giving you a short impression about what the future of tourism and hospitality can all be about. And I would be super happy because I know today is a very short period of time if you can connect with me on LinkedIn to exchange further, because I think there's so much room for inspiration and for collaboration. So yeah.
Thank you so much on this input, Ines. So I'm just the one who is going through the agenda. We have Florian on the next point for Circly. So yeah, I will just give the floor to him.
Nice.
Just let me know.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you
Can
very
you hear me?
much.
Yeah. Hear me, see me? Perfect. Then I will share my screen as well. Okay, hope it works. Any feedback? You can see the screen?
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. Just a little bit of priming with the company name. Thanks to all the people who spoke before me. A lot of things have already been said, so I can go quite fast through the presentation. What I want to show you is today's presentation that is actually made usually for our customers. We serve manufacturers, we serve retailers with demand forecasts. So we help them to plan their stock better, help them to optimize their production lines by giving them more accurate information on which products they need. Oh, actually, look, here's the camera. Which produce they need at which time. So you get a dive into what usually only our customers get. We showed them this slide because most of the customers, the small and medium enterprises, they had the problem that they wanted to be more sustainable, but they simply couldn't afford it in some cases because AI projects, this is where we come in, they were very expensive, and we made them much more affordable so that even small and medium-sized companies can now work with AI. Not all of our models, we programmed our models on our own. Not all of them work with AI, but some do, and on a very affordable way. We already heard it today, the VUCA, the very volatile world with wars and a lot of problems with COVID, pandemics, etc. So it was very hard time for companies to be sustainable. Sometimes they just had too much produce, and then they had too little produce. So they need a better planning than just some sheets of paper. And you wouldn't believe how some of the biggest companies in Europe still are planning. Some with Excel, some with paper sheets. So we help them to digitize their planning and save a lot of time. And how does this actually fit together with tourism? If you think of your last vacation, your last holiday, you probably went into a store wherever you went on holiday. You bought some drinks, you bought some food, or you went into a restaurant. And the restaurant, they ordered all of the produce before they prepared the food. So what we do is we help the ones within the supply chain, the manufacturers, the retailers, the wholesalers, to reduce their carbon footprint by having the right amount of produce whenever they need it. To jump further in the presentation, how do we do this? Data protection laws are becoming more strict. Data security is very important, and a lot of companies, they have issues with trust. So trust is a very big thing, and we help them resolving these issues. We have our own data servers in Austria, so the data never leaves the EU. So we have the highest data protection for their company data and their company information, and so they can actually begin to become more sustainable by building trust with us and then implementing new solutions like our solution. I'll show you more in a second how our AI works. Florian Glatt already said it, shit in, shit out. So you always have to train an AI like a student. If you give the student only shitty information, probably with the next exams they won't be so good. So it's the same with AI. We have to teach the AI properly. So in our case, we feed the AI STEM data, we feed it sales data, and we feed it promotion data. These are the three pillars we need for training our AI in order to get very high accuracy. But that's not all. We implement weather data, seasonality, and now you can probably see how this fits with tourism, because tourism is affected by these things as well. Seasonality affects tourism, the weather affects how much we enjoy our stay when we go somewhere, and economical states affect how much people can actually afford to go on vacation too. So all of this information is mapped on the existing data, on the historical information, like 3 years into the past, and then the AI sees different patterns. And based on this pattern recognition, the AI can then predict into the future how the sales will change. So this is where you can see the 3 question marks. We actually remove the question marks and make it a little bit more precise on what you actually need in the future. So this is an example of a brewery in Austria. A lot of people probably might know some breweries in their countries. Austrians might know this one, Stiegl. They on the flags from the Europameisterschaft soccer games, which are happening now. We help them save a lot of planning time. So therefore freed up some human resources, some human capital, optimize their availability of the products, which helped the wholesalers, for example, to deliver better and more fluently to the restaurants and to the retailers, and thus having a better availability of the beer in the supermarket whenever people are on vacation in Austria. The beer sector is very high driven by promotions, highly driven by promotions. So knowing when you need to produce more to raise your efficiency helps actually Stiegl to gain more profit out of the sales. And another win-win-win. We raised the accuracy by roughly 50%. So their planning accuracy compared to before they started working with us was boosted by 50%. And for sustainability reasons, the write-off quota could be shortened as well, which is very important for CO2 emissions, for example. So some examples how the companies use our tool. We programmed our own BI interface, so companies can compare how their sales developed in comparison to, for example, the month before, and then by that they can plan better what they buy and order and when. On a product level, this looks like this, for example, just for very, very deep dive for you. We have the sales, the historical sales, then we have today, and then we have the prediction by our AI. And this, for example, is anonymized data, but based on real information and from a retailer. And we help this retailer by bringing all this information on the handheld device. So they now just go through the aisles, scan every article, and then see how much they should order for the next 3 days, for the next 7 days, for the next 14 or 21 days. And so they can plan their storage as well a little bit better, which is very important for urban areas where a lot of tourism happens, for example, in Vienna. We brought this as well on a wholesalers platform so that the retailers have it more easily to see what they order directly in the wholesalers platform. They can choose if it's trays, if it's boxes, etc. So we can do the demand forecast on the scale the producer or the retailer or customer wishes it to be. Most manufacturers, they want to use their existing tools. They want to use their existing platform. So a lot of sustainability projects, they don't really get finished or implemented perfectly because the employer said, it doesn't really work for me. It's a nice tool, yes, but on my daily basis, I cannot use it. It's nice, and I know we should do it, but it just makes my work more inefficient compared to before. So we heard that, and that's why we implement with the computer interface directly to the existing systems. So the companies don't have to change actually their systems, and they just see a new column with the predictions. And so the planning people can then work in the same workflow as they worked before, but just with better enriched information. And this makes it easy to actually be more sustainable if it's actually working on a daily basis. So just for you, if you can't get enough of my face, I put one on the slide, but just a quick Viennese joke. Some of our customers, and as you can see, we work with duty-free stores as well. So we help planning for duty-free stores if you land here and you want to buy something, or if you leave and you want to bring something home for your family, friends, or loved ones, you want to have the right produce in the aisles, and this is where we come in. We make it affordable to be more sustainable. That's Circly in a nutshell. Thanks.
Thank you so much for giving you an overview on that. Yeah, I certainly think that yeah, concerning all the breweries that will be of much concern. Yeah, I don't know. Are there any questions from?
We have a question in chat.
Yeah.
Christian,
Christopher,
if you want, I can read it out, or you can, Christoph.
Go ahead, yeah.
Will you do that? From Paulina.
I think it doesn't address me directly, right? It's about cultural heritage. Probably not the field I'm in, but if you want me to answer, I try.
Well, we can all have a go, but go ahead, please, first, Florian.
To what extent, the question is, I read it out loud, to what extent do stakeholders contribute to the promotion of cultural heritage and the local economy? So if anyone has a good reply, please go ahead.
You go ahead, please, Florian, if you want.
I think
it can apply to any sector.
I don't have the right expertise for this.
Well, I'm not an expert in cultural heritage, but I could just add that this 4-helix approach that we mentioned, the quadruple hélice, because in Spanish, is that we expect, or we hope that we can get the public authorities, the knowledge institutions, the businesses, the community to work together in addressing the challenges. So I don't know, let's say one question might be that they are restoring a building or restoring a village, and it could be done top down from the public authority, which is the traditional model. Or we have an example, for example, in Italy, where many artists, they moved into a town, they painted the buildings, they mounted artwork, they restored the village in a way that made it attractive to people to visit, and an abandoned village was slowly recovered, and the buildings were restored, and they were gentrified, not in the nasty sense of the word, but in the better sense of the word, where it's gentrified in a, let's say, co-gentrified. So that would be my overall view. I don't know, Florian, Danny, anybody else wants to add something?
I mean, if you consider beer cultural heritage, then we probably help breweries not to go out of business, which would be a promotion of and a contribution of actually promoting cultural heritage. So this could be
Yeah, I think that's a very good
a
point.
perspective. Yes.
It's a very good point you make also, because the microbreweries and the artisanal craft beer kind of, that's really shooting out everywhere in Europe, and in the US, of course, it started. I think that they are demonstrating how small businesses, youth, or in their garages or wherever, setting up breweries, they're exchanging recipes, they are collaborating, and they are bringing in the local products in proximity. So we don't have to import lovely beer from Czechoslovakia, which we still do, but it's it's very good beer. But anyway, craft beer is a good example, as you mentioned, Florian.
One thing I could add, I mean, we do the predictions for very small retailers as well, 160 by the number from a specific company, and they are in very rural areas. So in these rural areas, sometimes the supermarket is the only meeting point for people, and but that means it actually keeps villages alive. If the supermarket closes down, sometimes the villages slowly they die out because you have to drive to the next village to get your produce, which is not very good on a CO2 calculation, for example. So doing better planning can actually help the rural areas. And Austria is, for example, a country where a lot of people take their vacations in rural areas around beautiful lakes or forests, etc. So, but that means we help to contribute to the promotion of cultural heritage as well. I mean, if you want to say that, I think that's a possible perspective as well to take.
I think this is a very good point you make also about the eco-social and water footprint of the beer industry. I mean, I think that if you consider the Ukrainian grain that's grown, that transported, that goes into these macro factories, how huge amounts of water is shifted from one place to another in Europe, which we call water extraction, no? Because same as if you buy let's say a watermelon from Brazil, you're transferring the water from Brazil to your local supermarket here in Europe. So all these, what we call life cycle analysis, cradle to cradle, considers the full impact and also the social impact. So for example, is the money, the beer you're spending, going to some fund out there in the Bahamas, or is it going to the pocket of the local young man or woman or whoever or team that's set up their own local brewery?
Would absolutely agree on that, yeah.
Anything else? Would like to add any question or add to the questions?
I just see from Lisa.
There's a more international perspective of Lisa, who asks how global trends affect the interest and priorities of stakeholders in Austria. Yeah, in your industry, for example.
Yeah. So our AI measures the effects by so-called Shapley values. So these are data dots, and it measures yes, for example, on the left side, right, for example, on the no, right side, and the more dots it has, the more it realizes that this is a trend in which direction the sales, for example, leads. But I try to understand the question a little bit better. How do global trends affect the interests and priorities of stakeholders in Austrian tourism or the industries, for example, breweries? You're working with more specifically. I really have to say I cannot answer that in general, because not every brewery is the same, and I would have to lie here, which I don't want to, because every company is different, and we have to do a deep dive in every company's data on its own. We try to do collaborative planning with a lot of different players, but we are just building this this big house, and we're just trying to build the foundation for collaborative planning. And for the collaborative planning approach, the outer Austrian trends are more relevant for just the Austrian companies which sell mainly in Austria. They are not that relevant, but not irrelevant. But Lisa, if you want to do a deep dive on this, or if you can specify your question, you can reach out to me via LinkedIn, for example. I will post my email in the chat right now as well. So just hit me up later.
Excellent. Well, if we have 5 minutes, maybe I can add something, or anybody else who wants to add something.
Yeah, according to the agenda, I don't know if there are any further questions. Please shoot
Time for
ahead.
questions, no?
I read Marcus wrote, what are some potential risks or downsides of integrating digital technologies in sustainable tourism, and how can small and medium enterprises mitigate these risks? Very good question. I mean, it's as I answered before to different questions above, not live, but in the chat. It's always a question of how much time you have available. So how much human capital you have, and they actually have to do the regular work. So implementing new tools takes time. You need these people who actually would do something else to focus on a new project. So this could be a problem in the first hand, but for tools like ours, you free up new time in the future, in the very near future, because our implementation times are around 1 to 3 months. So it's easily plannable. So you not only have a return of invest, but you also have a return of time. So if you can dive through this period of 1 to 3 months, you win in the future, in the long run. But within this 1 to 3 months, you actually create probably some problems for the people who are involved, but not without a reason. But Marcus as well, please connect on LinkedIn, and we can talk about this again.
So just to add to what you said, I think, I mean, the startup approach, of course, it's very innovative and has brought incredible solutions. But another way that we do a slightly longer cycle is through the European projects, because by bringing in different developers into the community, into the collective, then let's say you're harnessing the resources that are available, and it's kind of win-win model. So you have like open source licenses, and that kind of way of let's say scaling, as Daniel was saying, but through collective action. So that's another way of doing it. And the idea, of course, with European projects is that you don't take the money and run off with it or just consume it. No, it's about looking for continuity of the project and sustainable business models and future collaborations, which lead to further proposals for further funding, which is what we do in our funnel approach, in the roadmap, and in our what's the EUPOLIS WISE cluster of clusters development strategy across Europe for the living labs.
Yeah, but here is, I think, also a risk factor involved, because if you put your whole business models into fundings, yeah, and also going back to, through the question which was raised during my presentation about what governments or how governments can support SMEs. I think the downside is that fundings are always only time limited, and as soon as the funding is over, it implements, and you have to start the whole hustle again. So hence, an more innovative approach would be actually to agree what Sharam also said, on common, a common goals. Common. I'm missing the word here. Help me out.
Win-win, maybe win-win. I don't know.
Denominator.
Yeah, thank you, Florian. And common denominators which go beyond the funding period, but which are distributed. Distributed differently, and that's at least one the main critique points which are slowly merging in Berlin, and I'm sure from your perspectives as well, who are looking for the funding. So that's maybe a risk one has to take into consideration on one hand. The other hand, what if you don't do it? Yeah, what if you don't use the technology, and then you might have the risk to run behind, because it will be implemented either way. So these are the two perspectives which jump out of my head.
I think it's a very, very good point. I was just thinking, reflecting on what Daniel said, that I think when we implement projects, many times we are focused on the tech or process or service solution, but we don't think about innovating in the social sense, in the cultural sense, but also in the business model. Because if you innovate an excellent product, but you don't innovate the business model, because many times these new products and also the approaches have different business models. So for example, we work with architects that license housing in collective purchase, let's say, that you buy, you can even through tokens buy a part of a development, and even crowdfund the development from the beginning through different investors. And then you have a piece of that property, so you pay rent. Essentially, is what's called pay-per-use accommodation. So you might start as a young student, and then you get married, you have children, family, then you need to upscale, go to a bigger apartment. So you just kind of shift, people move around. It's much more fluid. It's called co-housing, co-living. So you can see that they've completely not only redeveloped and innovated the innovation model, but also the business model afterwards in terms of how value is shared. I think. There any other question? I have a question. How does, I think Paulina is also asking, how does cooperation between private and public stakeholders work in the tourism sector? I don't know, Florian, I think you might be the right person for that in terms of the overall stakeholder vision.
Well, I'm not ideally suited to answer this question, but the private-public stakeholder thingy has turned to be it seems to be some trends. Every now and then there's a trend of private-public partnerships. Then there is too many of them, and nobody in the end wants to take the final responsibility. Then things go back to private investors and or the public hand. For the time being, I see that there is a lot of reluctance on the public end of the spectrum. I see that there is a lot of responsibility in this regard pushed to the private stakeholders. And in my opinion, this is not the worst thing. But from the overall funding perspective, if we get back to some more statistically relevant content, if we look at why it is that Europe and the German-speaking countries in particular have a very strong emphasis on spending money by the bucketful on innovation, that can be corporate innovation, but mostly also startup innovation. It's a very obvious phenomenon. Innovation usually comes from interdisciplinary approaches. If we look at the regional structure in German-speaking countries, there is no really big hotspot out there. If we compare it to Paris, if we compare it to New York, to Tokyo, the largest metropolis area on the planet with 38 million inhabitants, there is nothing comparable here in German-speaking countries. The public hand wants to counterbalance this by spending money by the bucketful to many of those startups. And I think Ines and Florian, who both benefited from such programs, can confirm if there is a lack of very specialized skills. Because Vienna, I mean, yes, it's a big-ish city, and yet it's rather a tiny village, and as is Berlin, as is Hamburg, as is Munich, as is any of the others, and all of the other kind of cities that you can come up are even way smaller. The public infrastructure needs to provide money, because this is the only way that you can then finance those specialists which can then really contribute to interdisciplinary competences, which you will usually lack. And so, yeah, for me, this is the stance to be taken here, also to understand why it is that there is rather generous startup funding in Germany and Austria, whilst there is less so in New York or San Francisco, because simply there is a different approach to innovation finance there. There is a lot of money free floating in PE and in private equity and in startup investment in the private hands, and B, because there is highly specialized knowledge available there within the tip of the finger, which is not the case here.
I think excellent point about the challenges. I also like to just add maybe three points around the European strategy. One is the public procurement of innovation. The other one is public green purchasing. And the other one, of course, is the co-funding. As Florian was saying, if we rely only on private capital, it's great if it's available, but of course, many of them are only focused on tech and not necessarily, let's say, cultural or social or that kind of innovation or other kind of services. And therefore, that funding in that area from private capital is very low. So that's where public authorities can come in and co-fund, either by purchasing, which is kind of like, what do you call it? Like basically getting revenue from clients, but initially testing with public sector. So for example, reconditioning their buildings with solar panels or creating energy communities in public buildings. Those kind of things are examples that we have evident, of course, across Europe. Maybe you know Repower in Brussels. Also, Repower was a massive community of people that came together and started putting windmills around the part of the Flanders, and they created a cooperative, and of course the government was supporting that project where it allowed purchase of green energy by the members of the cooperative. How much time? How are we doing, Christoph?
I'm just checking on that. So basically, we're now in an open discussion, but we do not need to push it so far. But if there are any further open questions, please address them. I think otherwise.
Do you think if I just show one thing related to what Daniel said and what we're talking about here, if I can have 3 minutes? I don't know if that's possible, Christoph. Okay, thank you. I think this could be interesting because we've been working, well, from Human Nation and Systemability for the last, well, since COVID. When we launched this initial, initiative with Rank also, with, Upolis, we've integrated this methodology of Theory U by Presencing Institute, Teoria Uno, that explains how real innovation, let's say deep innovation, can happen by listening to the field without judgment. And this, of course, means that we don't download just what we've always been doing, the business as usual, or what we learned in school, or what we learned in our families, or in our cultural inheritance, let's say legacies. So that can apply, of course, at the individual level, at the personal, but also on the organizational level, can apply to entire communities. So how do we move into this kind of learning from each other or with each other and really listening to the field? And to get there, we have to learn to be present, no? And so to get to the core, what is it that you need to do here? So this is what they call presencing. This is about being really in the field, in the now, and seeing what's emerging. So the emerging future is this other arrow, which Daniel was referring to several times, so that we can start crystallizing the ideas and prototyping them. Well, first we initiate ideas, co-create, co-design, and then we crystallize it and then take it to market. So this is the, so you have to test them, of course, and know that they work. Other very interesting diagram, completely related to this. So this is the downloading, the past patterns. So we already went through the yellow U. Of course, this requires curiosity. This requires compassion and empathy. Also requires the will, no, and what they call the heart, the hand, and the hand also, because the work that you have to then do to build, to put it into action. However, that it's very interesting that when deep innovation and times of crisis and VUCA, as we see now, is happening, we see a lot of this denial cycle, which leads to absencing, because this is the denying that there's a problem. This is denying climate change. This is desensing that there's continuous perpetual wars, as Gore Vidal was saying, that there's whole industries and nations that rely on just producing weapons, so they need wars to be able to continue. So we dehumanize. And then we get into this absencing mode where we start blaming, and then that can be very destructive, as we've seen happening in some very extreme bipolar movements that create what they call the clash of civilizations, no, or the clash of society, or this kind of huge turmoil that we're trying to avoid. So this kind of prejudice, the holding on to the rage, the conservative, let's say very ultra conservative approach of not wanting to change, and the fear of change, of course, it's very natural. But we need to also be, these are our stakeholders. These are our main stakeholders, in fact, because we can be in a sound box, in a closed box, and we can all say lovely things to each other. But if we don't bring these people on board, and that's 50% of the people, as we know, that are doing the voting, around that figure, then we have a problem. So this is where, when we're doing the sensing, we have, and the compassion, it's about really listening to the stakeholders that you least want to listen to, because that's one of the most difficult tasks in this transition. That's just some little anecdote I wanted to add, but if there's anything that, I don't even know if I was sharing my screen. Yeah, I was. Yeah, good.
And maybe to add also, this approach is implemented like from a German MIT professor and used by many Fortune 500 companies. And that's what I meant with Selbstwirksamkeit. Because I skipped this slide, but now to end the circle, maybe
the MIT, in fact.
I will go. Wait, one. Yeah, like design thinking, can be divided, and also this project development. When you have design thinking, you do what Florian said, this MVP. Or this value proposition testing. Once you have this, you develop prototypes. Once you do this, you developed or you do market research. And once you do this, you can develop a prototype. and that 4 stages can be seen everywhere. Yeah, you don't need. Doesn't matter if you call it the review or if you call it project. If you call it this agile leadership, where you start by yourself, develop your team, develop your organization, and then your sector. Yeah, but it all leads to come from the comfort zone to the fear zone to the learning zone and to the growth zone. And that's basically it. And it doesn't matter how you call it. It's just from the transformational theory. I think it's what we all going through, and that's where I end and give back to maybe the final remarks of Florian and Christoph. So.
Yeah, just to maybe open also the floor to Ranko, who's of course the director of this project. He's the, let's say, lead of the governing body, and founder and chair of uPolis. He has been working several years on the WISE approach, the WISE methodology. It would be lovely to hear Ranko give us a brief on that, because that would be just maybe a few minutes. If Christoph, if we're still in the open discussion.
Absolutely,
nice
yeah.
to close that
If
with
there are any inputs from you, Ranko, please move ahead. Yeah.
Is that possible, Ranko? Go ahead. Or maybe Ranko, you're not available right now. Okay, so we can leave that for now on. Maybe Ranko jumps in a few minutes.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you, Ranko.
Sorry. Can you repeat? I just heard, but it wasn't. Can you repeat the question, Sharon, please?
My question was that as the lead of this project and also the lead of uPolis, as uPolis is, let's say, the lead partner steering this project, if you could just let us know a little bit about what is your take on the WISE approach that you developed, and we've co-developed also further together.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon, for that. Actually, thank you everyone for participation in the workshop. The urge, or actually the motivation for this futurism project, is actually lying in our long-term initiative toward radical innovation of the economic systems and the social systems based on the concept what we call WISE economy. And actually WISE is a little bit of upgrade of the European policies of smart, inclusive and sustainable. Actually, we are promoting the idea of going beyond smart because ecosystem approach and understanding that we are part of the wider systems, both as individuals and organizations, and actually taking into account not just responsibilities but also opportunities and synergies that come from this approach, which takes in account this system approach, are something which open new opportunities for everyone and new business models, new value chains that can create it through this. So actually, smart and knowledge-based approach are now to be upgraded toward more systemic approaches, and ecosystemic approaches, which are actually going from knowledge society to business society. And we are believing that we are heading toward this new period of human and social and economic development, which is going from information and knowledge society toward wisdom society, or WISE economy, which actually will take into account all elements of systems we are working in. And this also involves, of course, sustainability, but even beyond sustainability, we are promoting more proactive approach, which is regeneration of ecosystems. So sustainable is possible when you have something which is sustainable, but we live in a world which is very hardly sustainable. We are actually in a position that we have to regenerate both natural and social and economic ecosystems. So we are going beyond sustainable toward regeneration, and we are going beyond inclusive toward fair, because we believe that existing ecosystems are and the existing business models should not be changed by just including people, but actually creating more equitable and more fair wealth sharing models. And this is something which is the future of, I believe, not just tourism, but the whole economy. Especially in tourism, we see the consequences of this very narrow-minded approach, and therefore we believe that the concept of wise economy is a very not just essential, it's a part of the human nature, because we are called Homo sapiens, and it means wise beings, and that's something which is maybe the final condition or prerequisite for survival of human civilization, is actually to understand that with the growing power and growing resources and growing technology development, we are also invited to grow our responsibility and our understanding. Shalom, if you can just because I hear Shalom, if you can just I hear my voice. I don't know what's going on. I hear my voice. I don't know what's going on. So this is kind of very short presentation of the concept of wise economy and wise tourism. I believe tourism is a very exciting sector which enables radical innovation and experimentation. I believe tourism not just can benefit from the wise approach, but can be also a lighthouse of the wise transformation of economies and societies. So I believe this kind of workshops and meetings, and even this kind of projects, and also living labs and clusters that we want to establish to this project, are just one way to maybe support this vision of contributing to the new transition of economy toward, from, as I said, from knowledge to wise economy. So thank you everyone for participation. If there is any question, I'm very happy to reply. And also, if you have interest to know more about this project and about this whole idea of the wise economy and wise tourism, you are more than welcome to become part of this journey and this adventure. We are looking forward to all people who are interested to participate, either as beneficiaries of the support program of the Futurism, but also as co-creators. And one of the main reasons of this workshop is to start a stakeholder engagement process, because the idea is that we onboard stakeholders who are interested to become part of the program design, and also program promotion, and also ecosystem development. And this is the reason why we want you to stay in touch with us. And if you have interest in any kind of cooperation regarding this kind of effort, you are more than welcome. So thank you, everyone. So if there is any question, I'm here.
Can you tell me, Brancos, something about DSCs? And we'll open it to others. Thanks so much for that great summary. But if you, maybe DSC network and networks as such are also quite interesting to mention.
Yes, thanks, Shalom. Actually, DSS is a network of networks, a global network with the headquarters in Brussels. We are members of the DSS network. This network is focused on impact economy or social and eco-social economy driven stakeholders, but actually get us ecosystems who are supporting that at the national level across the globe. So the members are really coming from all 5 continents, and we are now in the process of actually creating a business model across these ecosystems that will enable even activating the economy of scale, because we have a huge number of organizations and networks in the DSS network with a few millions of employees inside the network. So actually we believe that this kind of network can also initiate its own economies of scale And also based on these concepts of WISE approach, we are establishing working groups for the new project pipelines regarding the projects that we are preparing as a follow-up of the futurism. So we will be more than happy to also involve some of you in these follow-up initiatives.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for these words, Ranko. I think we have received a lot of inputs via the workshop. In case there are any further questions, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. As you know, this is an ongoing process, and we're really happy to have you on board for this. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. Follow up with an internal email for the workshop, the outcomes on that, and yeah, thank you very much for being here, for really taking your time. Yeah, and we're moving forward. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Christoph. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Have a nice week.